All right, let's move on to the next matchup in the Western Conference in the play-in. So the Thunder are visiting the Pelicans. Who do you have in this series?
I actually think it's a tough one, but I do think the Pelicans will beat the Thunder just because it's a more experienced team. I think
Mhm.
overall the team is more well rounded as well than versus the Thunder, who were a very young team led by Shea, who was essentially playing as he's a superstar level player in my opinion. Like he's far exceeded expectations. I really didn't think he'd be a player that he is today. So kudos to him. And but ultimately, I think the Pelicans overall have a deeper team, even without Zion, considering all the players they have. So with so yeah, I think that's going to be my take. I just think they're a deeper team, more experienced team, and ultimately that's why I'm choosing them over the young Thunder team.
Yeah. So I think in a 7 game series, the Pelicans have the majority of the advantages, excluding having the best player, right? Because the best
I
player in this series is Shea, not by a lot, by like a hair, but they have more bigs because you know, OKC doesn't have like legitimate bigs. Um, to your point, the Pelicans are also deeper as well. But for me, I feel like for for OKC, they played more consistently this season, and the Pelicans have mix and match lineups all season because of injuries left and right. And if it's just a 1 game series for me, I think I would go with OKC just because like they literally have nothing to lose and like everything to gain. For the Pelicans, they just naturally have more pressure, right? Like and OKC just go in and just play free. They only need to win 1 game, and they have enough young talent to win. Again, if this was a 7 game series, I think the Pelicans would win just because of their experience, to your point, the depth, and so on and so forth. But for me, like I feel like the Pelicans the last 4 months have been like they had massive losing streaks. They worked so hard to get into the play-in because they just lost so many games. I feel like they worked so hard. They are probably a little tired mentally and physically, whereas OKC, like they have nothing to lose. Like everything's gravy, right? So I feel like OKC won't have that much pressure, whereas the Pelicans will have a degree of pressure to win. So I think in a 1 game matchup, I feel like the OKC will probably win if I had to guess. But that's just my take on this.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, Shea again he is the best player in the series. I just don't see like, yeah, I just don't see any other player on the Thunder that's going to make as much of an impact other than Shea. Maybe Giddy here and there. Dort's a great defensive player, 3-and-D guy, but I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily better than what the Pelicans have. Like Brandon Ingram, Valanciunas, um, CJ McCollum, and then good bench players like Josh Richardson and Larry Nance, and a great defender in Herbert Jones. I mean, I just don't know if that is worse than what OKC has. I think ultimately it's a better. They have the more depth than
Yeah.
what OKC. That's just my logic. I just think they're a more complete team versus what the Thunder have, because the thing that Thunder is very dependent on Shea, which makes sense.
Mhm.
Clear cut, the best player on that team. So that's just my take. I just think based on having a more complete team is why I'm ultimately choosing the Thunder over.
Yeah, and that's completely fair, right? So I totally get why you're taking the Pelicans all of her points.